Hi the internet, hope you're all well, thanks for stopping by. I'm continuing my look at Top Gear magazine's top 50 driving games of all time. And in this episode, I'm looking at the 80s classic, Chase HQ. And what a game this was. In fact, if it wasn't for Outrun, this game might have been considered the greatest driving game of the 1980s. The game was set over 5 levels. You had to chase down and destroy 5 criminals of the law. Each one of these will be introduced to you at the start of every stage by Nancy over at Chase headquarters. Once she'd updated you on the mission parameters, it was then over to you to catch down those perps with the famous
"Let's go, Mr. Driver."
Each of the 5 stages followed the same basic premise. You had 60 seconds to track down and catch up with the perp. Every so often you'd come across a fork in the road where you're guided to go left or right. At this point of the game, all you're trying to do is cover as much ground as you can, as fast as you can, so avoiding spills and crashing into other cars is a must. To encourage you along, you'd get sassy comments either from your partner or even from Nancy back at Chase HQ. But as long as you got a visual on the perp, the game moved into its second phase. This is where you have another 60 seconds to smash the perp off the road. You get an energy bar that belongs to the perp on the left hand side of the road, and you've simply just got to keep ramming him until that bar is full. At that point, you pull over the flaming wreckage of the perp's car and make your arrest.
Okay, you're under arrest on suspicion of first-degree murder.
The next 4 levels all follow the same premise, getting slightly harder each time. Level 1 is Ralph, the Idaho slasher in a white Lotus Esprit. Level 2 is Carlos, the New York armed robber in a yellow Lamborghini Countach. Number 3 is Chicago Pusher in the silver Porsche 911. Level 4 is the LA Kidnapper in a blue Ferrari 288 GTO. And then the final stage is the Eastern Bloc Spy driving an unknown car, which is actually a red Porsche 928, very similar to what you're driving yourself. The controls for Chase HQ were very simple. You had a steering wheel mounted on the cabinet, you had an accelerator, you had a brake, you also had a 2-speed gearbox, and you also had a turbo boost button. 3 times you could deploy that on a single stage and it would get refreshed at the start of the next level. When you deployed that turbo, it was very tactical. Sometimes the time limit to actually just catch up with the perp was very tight, so you might need to use it there, but ideally you want to keep as many turbo boosts as possible for the final chase, just to smash the guy down and take him out. Visually, Chase HQ is incredibly similar to Outrun from 1986, made by Taito's big rival Sega. And while Outrun may have been the commercial juggernaut that is still fondly remembered nearly 40 years down the line, Chase HQ also has a warm place in most people's heart. It was also a massive commercial success for Taito, topping the Japanese arcade leaderboard in 1989, also topping the UK chart as well. The arcade version of Chase HQ would go on to be ported over to pretty much every home system that you can imagine. Ocean released versions on home computers such as the ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64, Commodore Amiga and Atari ST. Taito themselves produced ports for the NES, the Sega Master System, Game Boy, Game Gear, TurboGrafx and even on the Sega Genesis / Sega Mega Drive, although that was called Chase HQ 2 and had some very minor changes such as alternative player vehicles. There was also a version called Super Chase HQ released on the SNES. However, unlike all the other versions, this was a first-person perspective game, and frankly was nothing like the original Chase HQ. However, the original Chase HQ was massively successful across all of these ports, and it would go on to spawn 2 arcade-based sequels, Special Criminal Investigation released in 1989 and the extremely rare Super Chase Criminal Termination released in 1992. It's also got 2 spin-offs, a run-and-gun type game called Crime City and a quiz game called Quiz HQ. Yeah, go figure. But for me though, despite growing up playing it on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, the best version of Chase HQ was this, the arcade version. If I ever saw it in the corner of an arcade hall, I'd be straight over there playing it. Perhaps unless Outrun was sat there as well. But while Outrun was definitely my favourite 1980s driving game, Chase HQ was a very close second. The action was fast, the graphics were smooth, and to top it all off, it was clearly a rip-off of my favourite 1980s TV programme, Miami Vice. No one's gonna tell me otherwise that the 2 protagonists in this game that appeared on the front cover weren't Crockett and Tubbs from Miami Vice. Okay, it wasn't a Ferrari Testarossa, but a black Porsche 928, it does look a little bit like the original black Ferrari Daytona from the original couple of series. But my goodness, this game is difficult. I mean, fair play to it. While Outrun, I could smash that every single stage, not a problem. Chase HQ, different story. The first couple of stages, yeah, you could get through that without using a continue, but stage 4 is an absolute pain in the backside, and this final level, stage 5 against the other Porsche 928, oh my days, how many times did I use continues on this level to try and finish it just for this video? I think if I remember rightly, this was my 6th continue to finish this particular stage. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at driving games, but oh my good grief, there was swearing. But nevertheless, that was it, all 5 stages complete. When you do complete all 5 stages, you then get a nice presentation from, is that the mayor, is it Ronald Reagan, I don't know, but whoever it is, you get a congratulations, you get an extra 500,000 points, and that is the end of the game, credits roll. Tell me in the comments section what you think of the game. Do you remember it as fondly as I do? Do you even remember playing it in the arcades back in the 1980s and 1990s? Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed this little retrospective look at Chase HQ. If you have, maybe consider a like, a comment and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy.